any of you wondered how this child actor from Nickelodeon is able to flawlessly act as an old man, or why Vanya stands out in our angry scenes? Well, don't wonder too much, sweetheart, because today, as someone that's reviewed hundreds of different actors, I carefully took notes on every actor in Umbrella Academy so we could analyze and rank them on this tier list. And trust me guys, some of the techniques these actors use are genuinely remarkable. For example, starting it off with the mother in the show, Grace Hargreaves, acted by Jordan Robb. And let me explain the hidden way she plays a robot perfectly. Analyzing specific scenes like episode 1x3, watch how she acts this artificial person by keeping that fake smile on, only letting it go when she's about to slip up, which you can see through the soft eyes, and then quickly bringing it back into robot mode. And these same soft eyes are truly her talent, because just a couple episodes down, analyze how she looks off to Pogo and quickly bats her eye. It's very missable, but what she's done here is she's let her human side show from her eyes, but that robotic acting comes out through the rest of the face, like the way she talks, that constant smile. And speaking of her human side, when we finally see it unleash in season 2, just watch how she's allowed herself to have so much more facial movements. The way that now she brings her eyebrows down, the way her eyes squint, the little lip frown, these are all things that are now letting us see emotion through the body. Playing a robot without it being cheesy is definitely harder than it looks, and I clearly couldn't do it even after 24 minutes of trying straight.
I'm Grace Hargreaves.
And it's for these reasons that Grace's actor Jordan deserves an amazing spot. You're overlooked, baby girl, but I see you, okay? I see you. Now, what if we talk about an actor who also plays a unique type of role, but does it so perfectly using secret body language? Let's talk about Klaus, acted by 36-year-old Robert Sheehan. In the first season, but basically every season, he's a drunken mess. And he acted out being drunk using very subtle things that you guys probably missed. This specific scene shows one of those hidden things. Even though Klaus is fully tied up, watch how he moves his body the entire time, his shoulders. This is so impactful because you can see his restless emotion and how hurt he is during the story he's telling. A quick Google will tell you that movement is the biggest sign of intoxication. Him actually identifying that and moving excessively, now that, sweethearts, that's the key. But it doesn't stop there, because in season 3, now he's not only doing little movements, his talking tone is a lot drunker. He sways a lot more with his hands. But I would have liked to see him be a little bit more bold with his acting. As you guys know, when someone's drunk, they get like angry, they get I didn't see that fire come out, so I wish he could have done that. Moving on, when it comes to the other little things, another very missable thing is he purposely never makes eye contact. He'll do it for a second, but he'll always resort to looking down or away, which really helped add to his character, who was so socially abnormal due to all the drinking and all the trauma. And this no eye contact move also allowed him to have funny scenes like this, where he's genuinely saying things without knowing the importance of them. This one where he's talking about the location of the Klutzberg so nonchalantly, like he doesn't know what's going on. Mr. Robert, your overlooked techniques, I saw them and I see you. Played a very solid drunk man, but there were some opportunities to be a little bit more aggressive, so just like your mother, I'd put you in the amazing category, just in the lower end. But now, let's get deep for a sec. Baby girls, everyone can't be amazing. So let's talk about an actor who failed her character, even though she's had solid past experience as an actor. Let's talk about Lila, acted by Ritu Arya. Starting off in moments like the season 2 finale, you can see how natural of an actor she can be. This look right here after she redirected Allison's command was everything. This look up of surprise looked so realistic, and it felt like it came out from a vlog or like some casual recording, not a television show. But this natural performance we see very, very rarely, because the rest of her acting looks more like this. Here she's arguing with Diego about how their kid isn't really their kid, and even though it's such a heated exchange, she snaps back with such a monotone, expressionless face.
A human being that belongs to somebody else.
Why do you think I'm stressing dead bloody fish, you wanker?
If it happened once, my brown skin would let it go, but it happened again. Only 4 episodes later in the season finale, we see a heartfelt moment between her and Diego because she's scared, she doesn't want to fail the baby. But once again, her acting isn't showing true failure. The very basics are there, like soft voice, eye movements, but it's lacking anything remarkable I can point at. Let's compare any similar scenes from a different show. Let's talk about Kimiko from The Boys. There is a separation here that's caused by many things, like Kimiko looking softer because of her face shape, and since Lila's face is so much more rigid and sharp, these softer, deep things just don't come across well. But all isn't gloomy, because she does redeem herself in some instances, like episode 3x7 where she told Diego she's pregnant. The eyebrows are constantly furrowing, her breaking eye contact multiple times, how her eyes quickly jump back and forth, it's amazing. She landed how cowardly she must have felt to tell Diego the truth. So Lila, you certainly have this emotion hidden under that white bleached hair, but we just don't see it enough. So you'll be the first person to go in the good category for that reason. But what if we talk about your partner in crime, Diego? Does he have the same fate? Well, no. David Castaneda, who plays Diego, may look like a Mexican drug dealer, but let me tell you, he has some of the most soft, innocent acting in the entire show. Take a look at episode 1x3 when Diego is disabling his mother. The way Diego murmurs his words is such a refreshing sight to see. How he forces his lips together before spouting out, "Mom!"
It's gonna be okay. Mom.
It's great and it shows us a baseline of his skill, but let's push that baseline. How much more sensitive can he get? A lot more. Because episode 2x6, when he speaks to his father that's bashing him from a different timeline, his whole body is in it. On top of that, watch this super slow way he pouts his lip and stutters back, giving off that deep feeling that he could barely let out his words.
More succinctly, a man in over his head.
You're wrong.
He reminds me of Cisco from The Flash so much, even with his acting, and he carries these stutters all the way into episode 3x6, where we see a much longer version. So Diego, you've certainly landed that choking up sensation, great. But screw all that, guys, cause let's get freaky. Because on the opposite end, when he needs to be a little more out there, we can examine episode 2x1. His body language glimmers here. He's playing a drugged out prisoner, and you can notice things like his stomach permanently puffed out, his weird eye movement, the restless, fidgety body. It literally gives off a zombie type of look, and all of this shows us that when Diego needs, he can play these variety type of emotions, which is why, Mr. Diego, you are going in the higher end of the good category. I simply don't have enough footage to raise you even higher. And now, before we talk about Vanya, who might be one of the best actors in the entire show, let's quickly speedrun some smaller characters and point out anything unique I found. Like, for example, the handler. She did a very decent job at switching on and off that corporate voice, which you can see in this clip.
We can make you yourself again.
All of them?
Yes, all of them.
I'll see what I can do.
Something cool that stands out is near the ending of season 2, she truly started to give off evil, Maleficent vibes, like Disney Maleficent. Because you might not have noticed this, but she'd permanently keep her eyebrows flexed and raised, which gave her this devilish look. Next, let's quickly bash on this black detective girl who shows you what fake, bad anger looks like. Really bad acting here. As you can see, the body language is there, but her face does not match the emotion. And when this doesn't match this, you get this.
That's your problem right there. Next tube, next job, next...
Great, well, there won't be a next anything if we don't find the briefcase. End the story.
Whatever.
The exact same thing happened with this actor, Justin Min, who plays Ben Hargreaves, perhaps the most disliked actor in the entire show. As you can see, in episode 3x8, he's a very surface level actor. It's always the same bratty face, the same type of delivery, and there are no moments in the show where he acts differently. There is some sign of talent hidden here that many people overlook, because in the same moment you can see a great face change from funny to serious with the little smile. Truly, if I'm being honest, he really needs to work on it. Putting these limited actors aside, let's get into some phenomenal actors now. Let's really break this video. I'm telling you, some of these actors are definitely gonna make it in the Oscar worthy. Vanya is acted out by Elliot Page, and I would easily consider her the best actor in the entire show. And there are two main reasons behind this: how she uses her eyes and her nervous acting. In episode 1x6, when she's mad at her sister, she's not using any body language. In fact, her arms are so stiff and they're just down by her side, which allowed the true magic to come from her eye area. Just slightly raising her eyes here, the little eyebrow shift, these little details worked really well for her face here. And if she wants to crank it up a notch, let's continue on in the same episode. Watch how captivating her acting is when she's freaking out because Leonard abandoned her. She's very stiff, almost like her hands are frozen. And just a couple minutes later, watch the repetitive eye batting and the pausing. This stiff body language combined with her eyes makes a terrific nervous type of character. But she can get even louder because only a couple minutes later, the rage you can feel through the screen is immaculate. Her shaky hands that are moving so impulsively, the loud roar that really came from the soul.
Are you okay?
I said go!
Even after she slashed her sister's throat, her great vocal acting kicked in and you can just hear a demon child come out.
Allison! Allison!
Vanya!
I didn't mean to.
I truly believe the the other thing that made Elliot Page excel past the rest of her actors is knowing that silence is sometimes more than enough. The way she simply just stares out at Mr. Buff Luther. She's not even making much expression here, but her eyes are once again just magic. Perhaps a bad actor would have tried to overdo the scene, maybe do some fidgety eyes, and I know when you guys watch these scenes you could feel it in the soul even though nothing's happened. But now let's address maybe her best acting scene that literally no one talked about. Episode 2x5, 42 minutes in. The way she displays sadness this time is not only with her eyes, but with various different elements. I want you guys to examine the eyebrow pull, the extended jaw here, how she looks down so defeated after she got rejected, only for her to fix that sad face in a snap, in an instant. There is such a complexity of emotions going on here, and the fact that she's able to boil it down like this is wow! And just because I love you, sweethearts, here's another beautiful clip that shows how great her vocals are, how Elliot is able to screech her voice in pain.
They belong in this timeline.
Says who? Sissy deserves a life where she doesn't have to pretend to be someone she's not. And Harlan, look, there's a name for what he has. We can get him the help that he needs.
Yeah.
Look, a mom and her 8-year-old son are not gonna screw up the timeline, Five.
So I hope I don't have to explain myself when I put Elliot Page as the first Oscar-worthy actor in this list. And let's just say there are only 2 other actors in the rest of this video even have a shot to match up against her. Go in the comments and make a guess if you want. Promise you will not get it. And while you're down there, you might as well click subscribe, because if you don't subscribe, I will call the Sparrow Academy on you, okay? So click the button. Anyways, now let's talk about Big Bad Luther, acted by Tom Hopper. So we can learn the miraculous way on how a 6'5" jacked man can somehow play a teddy bear type of role. Because trust me, there's some very unique things he does here that I didn't even know until today. And episode 3x2 is the best example. It's a combination of him using his eyes to show an innocent concern, but then using his smile and posture to reflect this light-hearted, funny nature. That combination right there is the secret sauce. But there's a problem. 90% of his acting in the show is exactly like this. And when I was first writing the script, I kind of thought to myself, sure, this is good, but it's kind of basic. It doesn't really show a talented actor. Even when he's doing serious scenes like episode 2x2, he's apologizing to Vanya by slowing his speech, basic eyebrow flutters, but by now you guys can see all these other actors also do this. So is that it? Is Tom Hopper just a mediocre funny teddy bear? No. Because the other 10% of his acting, that is where he shines. When he's pushed to his limits. Look at episode 1x6 when he's crying about the moon. He has a phenomenal yell, a great crying face, and he moves his mouth very randomly while he's crying, which is a very natural and advanced technique. Or maybe let's talk about his most heartbreaking moment. In this boxing match, you can look at his intense, clenched jaw. The desperation in his voice when he's telling the other guy, hit me, hit me.
Hit me again.
Hit me!
Luther, are you crazy? Just hit him.
Come on, Luther!
Hit me when I feel pain. When I feel all the pain. Give me everything you got!
Which is exactly why Luther actually would deserve an amazing spot. Yes, most of the times, like we talked about, it's basic funny scenes, but when he's pushed to his limits, greatness comes out. Now let's talk about Vanya 2.0, an actor that can play the same level of sadness, anger, and maybe even better. But let's talk about Allison, who's acted by Emmy Lampman. When it comes to her sadness, I want you guys to lay your eyes on episode 1x10. This scene is about her calling Claire and missing her because it just shows how much time travel ruined their lives, and she gave it everything. The way she nods at the end so hesitantly, it's amazing. I mentioned before that Vanya's magic was her eyes, but it looks like Allison truly has great control of everywhere in the face. With that being said, I'd say her lips and her mouth area is her secret sauce. The way she's pouting them here, the way they flex, it truly adds to her face here. On top of that, just like Grace, who plays a human and a robot, Allison also acts out a great traditional wife role in season 2 because of a timeline change. And this new character she makes intentional changes for by using widened eyes, slower speech, which gives off a more obedient, strict wife. And it's totally different from how she plays Allison, a much more expressionate person. But we have to get juicier. Now let's address a secret move that Allison does that none of these other actors from Umbrella Academy do. Breath work. Basically how an actor uses their breathing to show off a specific sensation or emotion. Look at episode 2x3 in a very chaotic scene with her husband, and just analyze the shortness of breath when she first stutters. It's a very hectic environment. Her husband is getting beat up, and that's all she can let out.
You say to
We're okay, we're okay.
What the hell did you say to him?
What the hell did you say to him?
I just told him to leave you alone.
He also does it again when she's telling Ray to go and flee. On top of that, there's the shaky hands, the way she's actually gripping onto her husband who's like getting off of her, all completely amazing. And that breathwork only further improves in season 3, where you can see her do a much faster variation of this breathing. But adding on to that, if Allison wants to leave the shortness of breath and sadness behind, she also has that capability of anger. Looking at episode 3x7, this is a small masterclass on how to be intimidating. The way she turns her head looking down at Vanya, it's like a serpent hunting its prey. She glares at her with such disgust, and the yelp she gives her is so fluid and raw. And all these different scenarios have proved to us that she can play any type of sentiment. So ladies and gentlemen, she will be my next Oscar-worthy actor. It's truly well deserved, and she's almost as good as acting as me. Like, if you guys didn't know, I'm such a great actor too. Duh.
Ashley, look at me.
Yeah! Let me know if you guys want to see more of that right there. Anyways, let's see if there's room for one more actor in that Oscar-worthy list. Because the next actor we're going to be talking about is Aidan Gallagher, who plays Fi. In general, he plays a very preppy, arrogant type of character. Remember, he's playing a person that's 56 years old, but in a child's body. Something that would be very cheesy and hard to pull off, unless it was acted subtly. Which, surprise, surprise, is exactly what this Nickelodeon actor does. It's hard to examine much at first glance, but here are some of the subtle things that certainly bring out that aged arrogance, like how he constantly tilts his head up and slightly to the right to give off a curious snobby grandpa, and even better when he needs to be assertive, lean abnormally ahead, which mimics the bad posture of any aged man. It's actually very shocking the amount of times he does this throughout the show, and it truly added to his comical but like bold type of acting, which proved his secret strategy isn't in his face, but it's everything else that's surrounding it. Look how he basically has an entire hunch forward the entire time, even when he's standing up, which adds to his demeanor. And when he doesn't need to be a snarky old man with back problems, he can do the reverse by using soft eyes with a whispery tone. This combination would give him a lot more depth and sympathy when he needed. And it's interesting, none of these other actors involve whispering so much. For 5, he does it so many times and it was everything.
You skipped out on his golden years.
Skipped out. You think I had it easy, Diego? I was alone for 45 years.
And also, just like Luther, in the rare occasion where it is life and death, that is where his true performance comes out. Take for example season 2 finale, when 5 is on the verge of death. This face twitch was so attracting to watch, how everything is seizing up but his eyes are still batting so fast. It really added to the pain he must have been feeling in this situation. It's actually crazy because I can't even fake this face if I wanted to. It's that good. But with all that being said, I truly believe Vanya and Allison are still way better than him, and these old main techniques like the hunch is good, but doesn't make him exceptional, which is why it might surprise you guys when I put him in the good category. He's good. But what about his father, the actual evil behind the show? Human at first, robot at last. Is his acting ability as good as his evil plans? Let's find out. Now the father has a very different story. He's an animated person. You can see in episodes like 3x7, just like Klaus, he also animates his head movements, which shows off a much jumpier persona. His entire time bonding with Klaus was actually one of my favorite moments in the show because it showed us a new side of the father. Also, just like a real life dad, if you guys want to get really technical, you'll notice his eyes are always sort of tensed up, which gave off the worried father look 24/7. The fact that he's able to hold this flexed position the entire time, that is definitely dedication. On top of that, during his wedding speech, his tone was slow, it was well paced. It's nothing amazing yet, but it still shows that there's solid groundwork.
Be seen as only a rough patch on an otherwise verdant lawn. I hope that tonight we can create a few special memories.
But there's an issue. If you look at the season 3 finale, it will show you that the father struggles with a serious vibe. When he snaps back at Klaus here, it's almost like a comical scene. It doesn't look threatening whatsoever because he's not letting his words breathe. He's not modulating it, so he's not extending one word or he's not being loud. He's just saying everything very fast in one tone, which gives you an end result like this.
Stop this at once. Everyone's in position. The battle's about to begin. I am one bell ring away from my prize. You're going to ruin everything.
So Colm, Feore, you did do this role well, but a lot of the times you were a little too reserved and basic. So for now, I'm just gonna put you in good. And ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about a lot of actors today, but there's one actor in the show that's always been overlooked. She plays a small role from the Sparrow side, and she plays it elegantly. Let's talk about Sloane, acted by Genesis Rodriguez. Even though she's from Big Bad Sparrow, she plays a very soft-hearted role, which is done with small movements like this, where you can analyze her genuine smile thanks to these flickers. A much more natural portrayal of happiness than simply smiling like this. She has that naturality to it. And to be honest, the whole proposal scene with Luther and her showed various other techniques that make her shy character pop. The slight nods, the giggling, the smiling, it all suits her. And to be honest, when I was watching it, it had my feet kicking too. My feet were kicking back there, bro. And the thing is, I call her very underrated because she has such great potential, and specific scenes like this show the potential hidden away. The scene itself is quick, but it highlights a very beautiful voice crack when arguing with her brother, barely even saying the word best, which let the sadness boil up so much harder.
He was our dad, and a shitty one at that. You don't need him.
Easy for you to say when you've already got a new family.
The best part of that family just died.
Many other actors in the show don't do anything like this, so I will actually put you in amazing. Just in the lower end of it because I didn't see enough instances yet. And ladies and gentlemen, this right here is the final ranking of every actor in Umbrella Academy. Let me know your personal thoughts and who you guys maybe agree or disagree with. And just like this video, I break down every actor in The Boys as well, so if you want to watch that, go there. I love you guys, make sure you subscribe and deuces.